how to convince somebody to buy your product. And so in this video, what I'm going to cover is probably the best, absolute, strongest way to convince someone to buy what you're selling. And I think that when I'm asked this question of the absolute best way to convince somebody to purchase your product or your service, the actual answer is in the question is that you don't actually convince that person to buy. You have to be more of a consultant, meaning that the standard approach to even starting a sales conversation is by way of promoting, right? Like, hey, my product is on sale until the end of the week, or hey, we're having this special. Do you want to buy it? And I think that in that particular case, it's really more or less like a dead-end approach. It's either yes or no. Where if you ever heard of Gary V, or Gary Vaynerchuk, but he goes by Gary V. He preaches a method called jab, jab, right hook, and the meaning behind it explains perfectly of how to better approach an actual sales scenario. And so it's going to answer the question of how do I even start a sales conversation. And going back to promoting, there's a difference between promoting and giving a tip, just a tip. So when you approach your prospect or you start the conversation, it actually has to start with delivering value. And so really the income is actually in the outcome, right? So it's all about the outcome that you can produce for your prospect that's going to grab their attention. And the truth is that in society now, with technology and internet and everyone having a computer in their pocket, the attention span of our consumers are very short, and we have to be able to adapt to that. And so the only real way to even engage in a conversation that can spark your consumer's interest is by first delivering some sort of value. And by value, I don't mean a sale. I don't mean save $100. What I mean is you're giving value like a tip. So for example, if I were a realtor or if I did anything within real estate, one of the free resources that I have at my disposal is something called comparable sales lists. And in essence, what it means is how much the houses within your neighborhood are going for sale. So if you own a house, you sometimes get flyers from realtors saying, hey, we sold this house, or we have this house listed right down the street from your house, and it's going for this much. Your house happens to be similar to this build, so your house can possibly go for that much too. And so usually it's just one or two different properties. A comparable sales list is something that will show you how much the house is actually sold for, not how much they're selling for. And so long story short is that particular piece, although it's free to me, it's not available to the public. However, I know the great value that it can deliver to the public or to my particular niche of prospects. And so how, instead of approaching and saying, hey, we have the lowest rate or we have the lowest fees at my company, how I would deliver is saying, hey, just doing a quick courtesy update. I spoke with you a while before, and just revisiting, I went ahead and emailed you a comparable sales report that actually shows you what's going on within your area. I'm heavily focused within your area, and I work with a lot of homeowners within your area, and they found that it was very useful to have this report because it actually shows you what influences your property value. Anyway, I went ahead and emailed it to you. Reply back, let me know you got it, and let me know what you think, and that's it. And so you're going to notice that approach was not a sale, it was not a pitch, it was not a promotion, it was value. And the best part about it is what helps you differentiate yourself is that you didn't go in for the sale. You're more or less a resource at that point. And that in essence is going to set you apart. Now you're probably asking, well, where's the sale? The sale is actually in the follow-up. And I'll make another video on how powerful the follow-up is and how important the follow-up is in regards to building your success in sales. But when you learn how to first deliver value, whether you carry on in that first call or that first point of conversation, you've already afforded yourself more time or more interest in your subject. And so the approach by giving value first is very powerful because it opens a dialogue to how your product or your services creates a solution for that prospect or for your consumer, and your product becomes a vehicle for them to take to reach the destination that they want to go. Now the question is, where do they want to go? And that comes all within the prospecting. And so I'll release more videos later about the art of prospecting, about the art of follow-up. But again, just covering the main basis of the perfect way to start a sales conversation, or the perfect way to convince someone to buy. It's actually not convincing them at all. You shouldn't have to convince someone to buy your product. It's going to be a waste of your time and their time if you're trying to convince somebody to do something they don't want to do. That's more of debating, right? It's not consulting. It's not providing any value. When you have to convince someone that there's value, clearly you're missing something. So dig a little bit further in what exactly the end result, the outcome needs to be, and then you'll be able to format the conversation accordingly to show how your benefit or your product and your service provides the benefit to reach that outcome. Thanks for your time. Hope that helps.